January 11, 2026, Chairman of the Federal Reserve Jerome Powell told us the Department of Justice has threatened him with criminal charges over some testimony he gave to Congress in June of 2025 over renovations to the Federal Reserve. So we're going to be talking about what does this mean, how did we get here, and as always with costs, what does that mean for American manufacturing? So Powell has served the Federal Reserve for 4 different administrations, and he's been chairman of the Federal Reserve for 3 separate administrations. He first took the seat in 2018 at the nomination of President Trump. He was then renewed in 2022 by Biden and has a term that will expire in May of 2026. Throughout his time as the chairman of the Federal Reserve, he's seen some of the most important monetary policy in the history of the United States. He starts out with some of the first rate increases since the Great Financial Crisis. He then manages the enormous quantitative easing and stimulus at the hands of COVID. Finally, he spent much of his recent years managing the high and persistent inflation that has plagued the United States for much of the 2020s. So in doing this, he has taken a long-term calculated approach to moderate interest rates, which is a little bit of a stark contrast to the sitting President Trump, who has been a long-term advocate for the lowest interest rates possible. And as a result of this ideological difference, Trump has explored the option of removing him at different stages. But personal disagreements and policy disagreements are not a legal right for the president to fire the head of an independent agency. He would need cause. So it's suspected that charges like this are setting a pretext to be able to successfully accuse Powell of whether it be fraud, malfeasance, or poor use of taxpayer money, which would give him the right to remove him from that seat and put somebody who ideologically aligns with him a little bit better. So there's a couple things we're looking out for on the manufacturing front. So first, an independent Fed has been a key staple of the United States and allowed it to continuously be the financier of the world. By being able to focus on its dual mandate of managing inflation and managing maximum employment, they're able to remove themselves from the day-to-day needs of politics to focus on long-term objectives. So countries that have politicized their Fed are often, as I like to say, taking their candy rather than the medicine. By lowering interest rates and pumping money into the economy, you're able to stimulate it in the short term, but this is often at the risk of whether it be overheating, high inflation, or ultimately a poor ability to react to future issues that arise as a result of this. So there's a couple things we're looking out for. We're looking for, will Powell be able to finish his term, which is set to expire in May of this year? Will President Trump put in somebody who's more amenable and susceptible to political pressure from the White House? And what does politicizing the Fed look like? And is this something that will continue beyond this administration, which is a great concern for a lot of us who have worked in the financing space?